Hi everyone, my name is David, and this video is a video on all the key features and functionalities I wish Camtasia had, and I believe that the team at TechSmith, maybe somebody might see this video in the research and development team and whatever, and hopefully they'll include some of the things in future updates or even in future versions. Now, number one of the list is captioning interface. I've already done a video on the captioning interface improvements they can do. The simple one is just to allow us to have positioning for the captions or the subtitles that one uses. Now, as I mentioned in that particular video, there's so much real estate on the right, and they can include X or Y axis for us to actually just adjust the positioning for the subtitles or captions using this particular section. I wish that they follow that video and see how much they can improve the captioning workflow. Now, this list of the things that I need is about 20 or so key improvements or features, and it's not conclusive. I believe some of the things are in the works, but these are just my thoughts. So going on to number two, whenever you render a video in Camtasia, what it tends to use is your CPU to render a video. I wish that they support GPU rendering, and the reason why I'm saying that is because when you go to the edit options, preferences, and advanced, you'll notice that they have hardware acceleration, which is recommended. But whenever it comes to rendering out videos, unfortunately, what happens is that they use, or Camtasia uses, the CPU to render your video, which takes a lot of time to render even a 10-minute video, even when you have the best hardware. I really don't understand the logic behind that, but I wish they enabled the GPU for rendering purposes. Let's move on to the other option. Now, when it comes to rendering a video, sometimes you want to render out the audio file and the video file. Is it possible to have, when you go to the export version, let's say you go into local file and then you select, let's say MP4, put in all the different settings you want to add in here. The way you see the encode audio, when you go to the next, let's go again to the next. Is it possible we have just a checkbox to export the audio file to the particular clip or particular project as a standalone audio file? Now, this will save you time when it comes to rendering videos and audio files differently. That is actually point number 3. And it can save people some time. So sometimes you want to use or automatically transcribe this particular audio with other applications, and you have to keep doing the same thing. Render out the audio as a different file, render out the video as a different file. It would be awesome if that would be included somewhere here as a checkbox. Next up, save cursor presets. Now, one thing that I always find quite annoying is cursor presets. Whenever you create a screen recording, obviously there's your cursor roaming around, and you want to add cursor effects. For example, let's add the highlight. It's about a size of 50%. Now, normally I use the 15 size for my highlight, and also for all the other effects for the left click and for the right click. Let's go for this, and let's go for 15. Let's just scroll down and then change this one. Now, whenever I do that, I have to do this for all the videos that I actually create as screen recordings to set the size so that the highlight or the cursor effects are not distracting to the viewer. Is it possible for us to be able to save the cursor effects to what we want, that is the size or any other thing that somebody wants to actually have? So that's for cursor effects, and we'll go back to something else. Is it possible to bring back the quick audio export keyboard shortcut? Now, the quick audio export keyboard shortcut was available in Camtasia 8, I believe. If you used to press Ctrl D, and I've just pressed Ctrl D, nothing happens. But when we look at Camtasia 8, if you press on Ctrl D, then you would get the option to save audio as. Now, you would save as a WAV file or as an MP3. Is it possible to just have that back? Because that used to speed up a lot of work, and more so if you wanted to edit your audio in, let's say, an application like Audacity, apply filters, do more noise correction, which was really awesome. Right now you have to go through the whole process of exporting. Now we also have another option here when it comes to batch production. Whenever you want to do batch production, you obviously add your projects and all that. Most of the times the reason why you're doing this is because is, for example, if you do tutorial videos, then you want to do batch recording, batch editing, and then batch production. Now one thing you'll note that is that due to the long time that Camtasia takes to render via the CPU, then it needs you to potentially be around to see if your project's complete, okay, or even maybe if you wanted to turn off your computer. I know you can automate this outside Camtasia and add other functionalities that when a particular function or application is done, the computer to turn off. But is it possible to like have a checkbox that turn down computer or shut down computer when the task of batch production is finished? That would be really awesome to have included in any future updates or even future versions of Camtasia. The next one is the audio wave match. Now, I don't know if this is going to be really clear, but I hope that it makes sense. Whenever you, for example, let's say you export this particular audio file. If you export this particular audio file and you want to edit it inside an application like Audacity, Adobe Audition, and let's say you were just adding some few filters or just doing some noise correction and all that, there is a very high percentage that when you re-import back your file inside Camtasia and try to match it to the audio, and I'd recommend that before you actually do that, make sure that you've done all the necessary or relevant edits you wanted to make. So when you do that, you export it to Audacity, make your edits or any other audio editing applications, and re-import it back into Camtasia. If you try to actually match that audio clip to the audio waveform here, it's going to be sometimes, I've always found that for some strange reason, they don't synchronize. You'll either find there's an issue or slight issue with the audio, and you'll try to be as precise as possible, but you'll notice that, hey, these audios don't match. It would be awesome if you just be able to click the original audio and let's say the new audio and just right click and say audio wave match or something of that sort, so that they actually synchronize or match as they need to be. So something else, and it's good now that they're starting to add some extra visual effects. It would be awesome to have like pre-built visual effects for things like split screens. That would be really awesome to see. I love the corner rounding effects, the matte effects that have been included. It would be awesome to have split screen effects or presets as well. Now, something else that is really important, and I think Camtasia should include, is potentially a log of edits or history of changes. So if we look at, let's say we do a couple of edits here, a split, let's say we come here, we do another split, let's go down here, we do another split. Let's assume that you can't remember what edit you did last. It would be awesome to see or even have a rollback of the changes that you did. And this can be easily done. And I'll just show you an example here inside subtitle edit. As you can see, this has not yet been touched. If you look at the edit, the show history for undo is not available. So let's say we just move this, and then move this. And then let's say we change the format to a different subtitle. We have that. And then we change this to a different subtitle. And then we just come down here. Let's say we choose another one, and so on and so forth. Those are changes that I've made on the fly. When I come to the edit and then click on show history for undo, you will see all the different edits that I have done. You can compare with the current, but for all these changes, you can click the first change here and click on rollback. If you click on that and then come back to the subtitle edit, show history, you will see all the other edits. They have been blurred out because these are the edits that you did previously, but now you've rolled back to the original edit. And this can help, especially if you end up finding yourself making any changes to your media before, for example, adding things like cursors, because if you add cursors after doing these different effects, you'll notice that the effect right here is different from this, different from the one here, and you might need to start changing the sizes for the different things here. And that is where even the presets for cursors comes in. If you can save a preset and just drag and drop it onto the different clips on your media if they're screen recordings. Now that is the show log or history of changes made. Next up, we have the detach canvas. Now the detach canvas is one of the things that I feel would need a shortcut. For example, if you want to detach this particular canvas here, you need to right click and then click on detach canvas. A shortcut or a hotkey would do this job better. Sometimes it's really tiresome to keep changing this thing. If you want, let's say if you click outside this particular option, then you have to click again reattach canvas. But it would be awesome to just have a click or even a hotkey to do all these particular things. And this is something that I believe can be added in the shortcuts, where we can actually change all those options, or maybe have something included here. It would be really awesome to see that. Maybe it's something that somebody would at TechSmith would think about. It can save us a lot of time, especially when you're working with media. For example, if I detach canvas and I want this to be full size, if I want to reattach it back, maybe I was doing some blurring of sensitive information, then that would come in handy. If I press escape, it just comes back to this. But it would be awesome if it can just be to reattach instantly just by pressing a hotkey. And the next one is potentially more or less about the webcam. Now, when it comes to the webcam, the options, it would be awesome to be able to have the selection or the settings for the webcam set and not change after you quit Camtasia. Normally, what happens is that once you do, as for the options, they are grayed out because I'm recording this video. But when you set your camera settings or your webcam settings, then chances are these settings are going to change when you close down Camtasia. It would be awesome if these changes can be saved, and I believe this is something Camtasia or the team at TechSmith can do. Something else is that support multiple webcams or cameras. So for example, let's say I have a webcam, Logitech C920. If I wanted to have another webcam, for example, one that is doing like a top down, looking down on my table here, then it would be awesome to be able to attach multiple cameras, or even have another angle, let's say another angle from my left or even from my right. It would be awesome, especially when doing this. And then one can dedicate, this is going to potentially be my talking head, maybe the other one is going to be a wide shot, etc. I wish and hope that somebody might look at this. Now, the next thing is estimation of how long it will take to render a video. Whenever you go to export a video, unfortunately, you are at the mercy of your system, how powerful your laptop is, the different edits you've made to your clips, or even if there's any other applications or things you're doing in the background. It would be awesome to know, have a guesstimate or rough estimate of how long it's going to render a particular video, so that you can plan ahead rather than just be there waiting for the clip to be done. Next up, it would also be awesome to have an estimated render size. It's not once or twice that I've almost rendered out a whole video, and then you find that there was an error. And the error is because the space you have on your laptop or your computer has been used up by the particular render that was being done, which is incomplete, and it is in the temporary folder. So that would be awesome to have. Next up, I believe this is something that should be implemented. sorry about the noise, but I'm reading from a write-up I have here. It would be awesome to have grid lines. Now, if you want to create content in like safe areas and all that, to know where your subtitles or captions are going to be, lower third graphics, text to be in the safe area, it would be awesome to potentially just right click here and just say turn on grid lines, or just have these as some box on the side that we can turn on the grid lines and see where we need to be. And I know people might say, oh, you can see when you do this, there's something that you can see, but it would be awesome to just turn on and see grid lines available all over. It would make life easier for people who want to keep their content at a particular position, etc. Now, there's something I really feel that the different versions of Camtasia have done injustice, and it's about the project settings dimensions. Now, when we go back to Camtasia 8, if we look at Camtasia 8, you see the dimensions of the clip or the editing dimensions that you're working with. Now, this is not available in Camtasia 2020 or even Camtasia 2021. It would be awesome to have the editing dimensions that one is using available again. It's not once or twice that potentially you have clips of different dimensions. For example, if you have clips of 1920 by 1080, 1280 by 720, if by any chance you begin your video with a 1920 by 1080, but your target editing and render dimensions were 1280 by 720, then you'll find that you may end up having to redo some of the edits because they don't match what is required. It would be awesome to just be able to have this back available so that somebody can see what editing dimensions they are using on the fly. It would be really awesome. Next up, it's another effect, a reverse video effect. It would be really awesome to just have an effect that I can just drag and drop as a reverse video, just drop it inside there, and we can just reverse that clip, or even just right click inside the clip speed or whatever you want to do. Let's say you just have the option to like do a reverse of this particular clip so that it plays in reverse. And this is awesome if you're doing some edits for maybe a vacation or something that you wanted to show some timeline of. Next up, we have the visualizer effect for audio waveforms, and that is when you're creating audiograms. It would be awesome to have that, whereby the waveform reacts. For example, this is an audio waveform. If you add an effect, then it's going to be bouncing according to this particular waveform. And these things are pretty simple, and you can see them inside things like Headliner. There's also inside Descript where you can see how this particular audio waveform is moving up and down, and something that is configurable more so now that people are doing tons of podcasts, tons of social media videos. They want videos with audio waveforms or audiograms to say that match what they're saying. So a visualizer effect that is editable with different styles. Just team at TechSmith, kindly just look at the different websites, Headliner app, Descript, and see what you can come up with from that. Next up, I believe now Camtasia, I believe in 2021, there's an option to like have different timelines, a main timeline and a group timeline, etc. Now, when it comes to that, sometimes you have projects that you're working on and need to just copy one particular clip while still working in the same project without making any changes. Yes, you can add the different clips here, but it would be awesome to have more or less like the way an effect that we see in Premiere Pro. When you're inside Premiere Pro, let's say we just create new sequences here from clip. That's the first one, and then we go for a second one. Here we go. So let's say I want to include a section here. Let's just cut a section here and just want to include it in this particular first video here. So we can just have this, let's say we wanted to include it at the end here. This is one of the videos or sequences in this particular project. This is the other particular sequence in this project. I've made a cut in this particular sequence. If I click on it, it's highlighted, and I can press on Ctrl C and then move back to the other sequence. And when I click outside, I can press on Ctrl V to paste that particular sequence in there. Now, it would be awesome if we would get this particular option inside Camtasia, so that if somebody wanted to include projects that are identical, you just need to add the video as a media here, and then if you're doing a copy paste, it's just copy paste. And it would be really awesome if you just have that available on top of the media that somebody can group. So that's something else. Next up, it's motion tracking. It would be awesome to have motion tracking, more so especially if you create let's say videos that need a lot of blurring. If you want to do some videos and want to follow the subject, that would be awesome to have as a visual effect, a motion tracking visual effect. So and an example is from Filmora. This is a company that has just been blowing out with different options, keyframing, motion tracking, so that you can track people, or even, let's say, if you select this particular ball, it can be easily tracked, let's say if it's inside Camtasia. So basically, that's a ton of my recommendation and my thoughts on key features that I wish Camtasia had that would improve the video tutorials, editing experience, or even just editing videos in general, from improving the Camtasia interface to rendering videos using the GPU, to shutting down your computer by having a checkbox when you're doing batch production, to having the dimensions back on here, to motion tracking, to the reverse video effect. That's a ton of things that I believe Camtasia can easily implement in updates or even in a complete version. I believe these are not things that potentially need an overhaul of the system. Maybe just creating the different, like reverse video effects, might need separate coding, but as for the others, most of them just require a simple update. Maybe it's just me talking and nobody's listening, but I hope somebody is listening to all the recommendations that we make to make Camtasia a better version of itself. My name is David. Thank you for watching this lengthy video of me rambling about the things I wish Camtasia had. Thanks for watching.